Well, boys, it's a great day to start the second round, don't you think? The weather's great outside. I hope the weather's great where you are too, Devin.
Sure is. Sure is.
But
Weather's beautiful.
it's honestly, it's really a wonderful day to get on that Timberwolves pack. To honestly get on a lot of packs because it seems like every series kind of ended right after we talked about it. I know we assumed Toronto would go to 7. We assumed I think at least one of us probably thought that Phoenix Pelicans was going to go 7. I think we kind of all thought that Mavericks versus Jazz was going to end in 6, which it did. But it turns out they pretty much all ended in 6.
Which kind of was disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. First off, I think the first round was very good, entertaining, but it's just something about seeing a game 7 that just like is exciting. And we didn't get to see a game 7, but there was every opportunity for some of those series to go to 7, and some teams they shat the bucket. Like they really pissed themselves, bro. Like the Jazz had the perfect opportunity. I was talking mad stuff about Clint Snyder not calling a timeout the possession before, but he drove a great play for Bojan and he missed. I think his foot was on the line, so it might have been sent to OT, but still nonetheless had a chance to, extend that series. And then the Timberwolves, bro, they just look like a young team. Like so many times in this series, looked like a young team, had every opportunity to potentially just win the series outright, and they couldn't even force it to 7, which was kind of disappointing because I think most of us, maybe Gabe is the one that was left out, but I thought that series was like a guaranteed 7 games. I really did. And the fact that it didn't go to 7 games was very disappointing because it was one of the more entertaining series of the first round. But nonetheless, I was still a fan of the first round. I think we got some great basketball. And I think it's setting up for, probably an historically good second round.
Yeah, it was definitely unfortunate to not see a game 7 out of that first round. Like you said, there's just always something that's inherently exciting about that game 7 where both teams have to win to keep it alive. But it was still a fairly good first round, and there's definitely going to be some great matchups here in the second round. Specifically when we're looking at the game that's on right now as we're recording this, with Boston and Milwaukee having the potential to be the best series in the playoffs. Whenever you're getting that in the second round, it's usually going to be a good thing.
Man, yeah, we thought that last year with that Nets-Bucks series that everybody was like, oh, this might end up being like who wins the title. And it turns out like it was. So with a lot of people having the Celtics as the favorite and then against the defending champs, like this is going to be a fun one. And so far, game 1's not disappointing. It's pretty close through 2 quarters.
Yeah. I got to say this because I really like, as a fan, I love when my team is under the radar. Like nobody's really like gassing all up to be like a championship team. But now it seems like the consensus is, the Celtics are like the Eastern Conference favorite, especially with Chris Middleton being out. And just, the way that this team has been playing I just hate that because now I feel like the pressure's on. Now you're expected to do big things. And if you get eliminated, against the Bucks, who are the defending champs, had the best player in basketball, it's going to be like a big letdown. So that's the one thing, like, as a fan, I just hate. But like you said, Gabe, this is setting up to be like an exciting series. I think, in my eyes, I think the winner of this series is probably going to go to the finals. No disrespect to the Miami Heat or the Philadelphia 76ers. I just think these are the 2 best teams in the conference, and we've been saying this for like the last month or so. Like we felt like that these were the top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference, and it was their conference to lose. So this is going to be a dogfight, man, even without Chris Middleton playing because Giannis is that good, Drew Holiday's that good. And this is a championship team. Like they showed last season, like through adversity, they were able to, step up. And, that's why they are the defending champs. And the Celtics are going to have to play some of their best basketball if they want to get out of the series.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a dogfight, no doubt. I don't think there's anyone that thinks this is going to go any less than 6. And many would say this is going to go 7. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a lot of physicality, a lot of good defense. You got 2 of the best players in the world right now in Tatum and Giannis going up against each other. So it's going to be a very good battle. Touching on Philly and Miami, Joel Embiid is now going to be out for, at the very least, game 1 and game 2. There is some hope within the Sixers camp that he will be back by sometime throughout game 3 or 4, which seemed completely against the initial reports, but that remains to be seen. I don't think Philly really has any bit of a chance here. If Embiid even misses just game 1, game 2, I don't think there's really much of a chance here for Philly.
You want to go first, Gabe? Because I got some stuff to say
about
it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, with the Raptors pushing them to 6, I think Miami's a much better team. especially on defense. And then when you have James Harden has not been playing well, Joel Embiid, even when he comes back, is going to be banged up, so he's probably not going to be his full self. And then it's like just with that level of defense on like both the talent and the scheme level, I think it's like whoever wins Boston versus Milwaukee against Miami. Like that's the conference finals. And so it's like, yeah, on paper, the second round looks good, but I think that series is not going to be very close. I honestly, if I had to make a prediction, I'm saying Miami in 5.
I've been seeing a lot of people say Miami in 5, and I think that was even before Joel, the news about Joel. Doc Rivers got to be better than that, bro. You're up 30 points with 4 minutes left, and you have your best player on the court who has just history of getting hurt. He's already playing hurt, and you have him on the floor. You're up by 30 points. Look, the way Toronto played in that second half, there was no way in hell that they was going to come back. I'm sorry. Like, the first half was very good, very competitive. Toronto had a big letdown coming out of halftime. So it's like, why do you have your best player on the floor in that situation, bro? Like, you can get away with just having James Harden. Paul Reed was playing cool. I was talking shit about him last podcast. He was playing cool. So, like, you could just have him on the court. And Doc Rivers just has to be better, man. You have been through too many playoff series, too many 7-game series to know the circumstances. Like, you can't allow that to happen. You're setting up to have yourself in the next round playing against like you said, Gabe, a much better team than the Toronto Raptors. Miami Heat I think they're still a championship quality team, even though we're saying like we think it's the Bucks or the Celtics. They're still a championship quality team, man, and they've been playing like that in this postseason. So for Doc to be that incompetent, man, it's just you can't have those mental lapses as a coach, man, especially with your best player who has injury history, already playing hurt, and now he's going to miss at least the first 2 games. You're already putting yourself in the hole, like to be down 2-0 right off rip, like basically because, like you said, Devin, I don't really think there's any chance that they can win either of these first 2 games. The way Miami's been playing, I think Spoelstra's a much better coach than Doc Rivers. I think they have all the wing defenders necessary to limit James Harden. And we haven't even really seen – I mean, James Harden, he played cool in Game 6. He played actually really good in Game 6. But we haven't seen the capacity of, this is like Houston James Harden or maybe like early Brooklyn James Harden to where he can really just get in his bag, take over games, and win a game or 2. We haven't seen that. And do I trust – I don't really trust Tobias Harris to play amazingly. I don't trust Danny Green to shoot like he did in Game 6. I don't trust – Tyrese Maxey to be able to step up and maybe give you like a 35-point game like he did in the first couple of games of the series against Toronto. So, man, that's just a dumb decision by Doc, and it's probably set them back. And maybe a series that they might have had a little chance in, that just went all the way out the window, man. So it's like it really might be a 5-game series if they're lucky, for real, because we don't even know if Joel is actually going to be back in Game 3, which is, like you said, just a big-time hit, man, because that is their best player and one of the best players in the world.
Yeah, it really
I think
sucks for a team. Like, go ahead, Gabe.
I was just going to say, it really seems like the top 3 teams in the conference have kind of cemented themselves. I feel like now it's like Miami, Boston, and like Milwaukee have been the top 3 in this conference really since like 2020. I guess Brooklyn was in there for a minute last year, but they were never able to really be on the floor at the same time. So then it's like, I don't know. They're kind of like in that conversation as well. But ever since the bubble, it's really just it's been these 3. So yeah. I think any of them can come out of here. Also, I don't know what the heck just happened with Marcus Smart.
I think his shoulder just popped out, bro.
Yeah, I think so.
Fuck. Excuse my language, but man. Hopefully they can pop it back in, man. Hopefully.
So we don't need any more injuries.
Man, there's so many, man. Shout out to Devin Booker coming back, though, but so many injuries, bro.
You're doing like what Chris Paul did last year. Chris Paul got hurt, and bro decided to play with, like, he couldn't even lift his arms. Now Devin Booker's back with
that's wild.
I wanted Chris Paul to pass down some things to D-Book, but blowing the hamstring was not one of them.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. But yeah, like, I mean, when we're talking about Philly now losing Embiid, I mean, they go in and they make a win now move, bringing in James Harden, and some would say this isn't their year. Some will say this is their year. But point being, James Harden isn't getting any younger. And so if this 76ers team is going to compete, their odds of that are going to get worse the more time goes on, unless Tyrese Maxey continues to develop higher than most people think his upside is. So outside of Tyrese Maxey becoming a star-level player, the further we get into this Embiid and James Harden era, we're further risking Joel Embiid injuries, and we're further getting into James Harden getting older and not performing any better. So it's a tough blow for them now to have Joel out. But like you said, Tyrik, Doc's got to know better than that. Like, you cannot have one of the best players in the league, your superstar on your team, in a game that late that is already wrapped up. And what was his argument? Like, the Raptors also had their starters in? Like, what? The Raptors are trying to – it's their last game of the season. They have nothing to preserve anyone for. Like, obviously, they have the starters out there. That's different. You are going on to play a second-round series. That is locked. You have no reason for – you don't have a reason for Tyrese Maxey to be out there. Never mind Joel Embiid. Like, there's no excuse for that. But it's too bad to see him down. And it's going to be a tough blow for the Sixers now moving forward. They're going to have to lock into a long-term deal with James Harden and hope that next year can be a better run for them. But it's a year now of Joel Embiid that was relatively healthy up until now, and a year where James Harden will be closer to his peak than he probably will be for any of the next years moving forward, or they're not going to have a good run at it.
If James Harden signs a max, they're not winning a championship. I'll call that shot right now.
He's probably signing it too, which is just like,
oh, he definitely will. He definitely will, because if Philly don't give it to him, someone will.
Yeah, this is like you said, like this is like you can make the argument that maybe this isn't their year because the roster's not like amazing around Embiid and Harden, but like Harden's not, like you said, he's not getting any younger, and this is typically the age where superstar players start to regress just a little bit. Russell Westbrook regressing. You can maybe argue, KD's even slowly regressing. Most guys, like, they regress a little bit around this age. Like, you can say that. And James Harden does not take care of himself in the capacity to where he's going to have a pretty, decline. It's going to be ugly. Like, he might be significantly worse next season. Like, it might be that case, man. It's just the fact of the matter. So, this is probably the year, like you said, you might not get a season where Joel's playing the majority of the games without like a big injury. Like, I think the games he missed this season were like COVID related, and maybe rest on a back-to-back. Like, that's really it. I don't know how many games he played, but he played a big chunk of the season. Played a big chunk. So it's like, you might not get that again. Saying that, like, I think he's 28, maybe 29 years old. You're not going to get this healthy of a season from Joel Embiid again. Like, that's something that you can almost guarantee. And it's just like, man, Doc just got to be better, bro. Like, that's just a shame, man. You see it so many times, like you said, like, you're up 30. Like, if you can't close a game out with your bench players in up 30 points, you don't need to be an NBA head coach. You don't need to be an NBA head coach, let alone a top 15 coach all time, according to, whoever made those, coaching lists for the NBA 75. Like, that's so bogus, man. That's a bogus answer. And I think we've seen that a lot in his Philly tenure, just saying dumb stuff to the media, bro. Like, he pretty much started the Ben Simmons debacle himself, saying, like, I don't know if he can be a championship point guard. And since then, it's just been all downhill, man. He's lucky that they were able to get out of that series in that first round, because if not, he would have been fired, like, the very next day, for sure, man. But I don't know. Hopefully the series surprises us. Maybe James Harden all of a sudden turns back the clock. Maybe Tyrese Maxey is ready for the moment. But I don't see it happening, man, especially the way Jimmy Butler's been playing. I got to give him his flowers, because after last year's first round, complete 180. He's been probably the best player in this postseason. I don't think that's, like, too far-fetched to say. I think he's been the best player in this playoff so far.
Yeah, Jimmy has definitely been really good, much better in general and specifically offensively than what we saw in the playoffs last year and throughout the regular season for him. Quickly back to that Joel Embiid point in terms of him being healthy this year. He played 68 games this year in a season that saw pretty much everyone miss time due to COVID, and it was 68 games being the most he has ever played in a season. At 28, definitely not a stretch to say that might be the most we ever see him play in a season. Mm-hmm. It sucks to see him go out now. Hopefully next year could be a better run for them, but that's unfortunately going to be the danger with having Joel Embiid on your team.
It's like the same
thing. I think it's the second time he's got, like, this, like, facial fracture.
It is, yeah, it is.
Like, I did not think that was a common thing, and I feel like this is the second time in, like, 2 or 3 years that this happened.
Yeah, he had it a couple of years ago. I think it was his left orbital, and this time it's his right.
I just remember Mask Embiid being a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think he's definitely out for the concussion, which is why I was honestly surprised off rip that they were like, he's out indefinitely. Because I'm like, if it's just like a facial fracture, a lot of people play with that.
Yeah.
because it doesn't really affect your game that much, except maybe your vision if the mask sucks. But then it's like, I think it's just for the concussion. So I never really understood that, like, that, I guess, lack of timetable. That was really weird to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know of him having a history with concussions. Not that I'm aware of.
I don't think so. Maybe
I know
back
if you're
in
I know if you're
Cameroon.
like me, you get one, you're out for months. But if you're Embiid, I'm
You
not
got a
so
concussion?
sure.
I mean,
You got a concussion before?
I've had quite a few. Yeah, that is the reason why I now am doing this podcast and am no longer playing. Not that I was that great, but we are very much behind the mic now.
I got one when I was like maybe in like third grade. It was playing indoor soccer though, which was crazy. This was before my basketball days. And yeah, I was messed up, man. But it wasn't like, I don't think it was like a major one. Like I was cool like maybe a few days later.
That's nothing. No,
hey, and that indoor soccer is no joke.
No, yeah, three of my four were from soccer. It was only my last one that came from basketball.
That's tough.
But
yeah, it's the same thing though. Like with the Lakers, like the Lakers would have to take advantage of Anthony Davis playing a lot of games. Same thing for Philly, man. Like those two guys are that much game changers when they're healthy. So you got to be able to take advantage of that. And it's looking like this is not their year. Even though it might have not been, even if Joel was fully healthy. But I think the East is so like. There's obviously, the teams that we think are at the top, but I still think it's like wide open. And you never know, like an injury could happen. Something can happen to where your window opens up. Like happened with the Bucks last season. The injuries happen, their window opened up, they win the championship. Like that's all it takes. And now we might not be able to see that from them. And who knows what the team will look like next season, man. So it's so unfortunate that Joel has to miss at least a couple games in this series.
Yeah, definitely.
like
Touching a bit
every
on
title.
Go ahead.
Just like taking advantage of that window that opens. That's pretty much every title. It's like if you look at like the preseason favorites and then look at who wins the title, I feel like at least recently, it's like never the actual person. The last one might be like the Lakers might have entered as preseason favorites in 2020.
I think so.
But that was also such a weird season. But besides that, if you don't count the KD Warriors, I mean, I feel like it's pretty rare for that to happen.
Yeah, it certainly feels like over the last few years and then pre-Warriors Cavaliers era that it's essentially whoever is the healthiest out of the top 3 or 4 teams, and that's usually how it works out.
Let's talk about Pelican Suns, man. That was such a fun series.
That was a really fun series.
Unexpectedly fun too. Shout out to the Suns for closing it out. Chris Paul, he's different, bro.
What a performance, man.
Yeah, that's like that was historically good, obviously. I think 14 for 14. But he had 3 turnovers, so it's not like, perfect. But no, he was elite though. He was elite. That was a fun series. I love the antics from Jose, Herb Jones. I love that, man. I love that competitiveness. And I love the fact that the Suns are starting to get a little healthy. Book didn't look like himself, but he hit some timely shots. And then the fact that I think the Pelicans, we might have discussed this last episode, but they're setting up to have like a nice jump next season. Like they could easily take like, I don't want to say like a Memphis Grizzlies jump, like going all the way up to the Susie, but like something similar, like, getting out of the play-in, being a legit playoff team, and potentially make some noise next season, man, with Zion coming back, just a full season with CJ, Willie Green, having all of his guys there, Brandon Ingram. That team's exciting for the future, man. Very exciting, man. And they gave the Suns, the defending Western Conference champs, everything that they could have had. Like, they were in that game. They were basically in every game. Like, that could have easily went to 7 for sure. And once you get to 7, you never know what can happen. So, shout out to them, man. First playoff series, a 36-win team, being able to take the defending Western Conference champs pretty much all the way to, to the ropes, man. You love to see it.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a message or if it was or if I actually tweeted it. I kind of hope I tweeted it. But it was like one of their first wins of the season after that terrible start. It was like back in November. I was like, dude, I'm on the Willie Green. I'm in the Willie Green fan club, bro. Like, I really was messing with dude as a coach. I think they just showed like one of his like timeout speeches or something, and I was like, this dude's nice. And probably just like some late game sets they ran or something. And that investment is starting to pay off. I feel good for trusting in him early because he has definitely proven me right.
No, 100%. He's had a very good year as their head coach there, and yeah, there's definitely a lot of room for them to make a jump this year. It's likely not going to be a Memphis-sized jump, predominantly just because their defense isn't going to be good enough, and you kind of need that level of defense to have that level of success. But there's no reason that's not going to be one of the best offenses in the league next year. And even still, with some of their young guys, with Herb Jones, with Alvarado, there's still enough good defensive pieces that they'll still be a good defensive team.
And yeah, who knows? Maybe some guys take a little bit of a stride defensively. Like maybe Bi becomes more than just a average defender. Maybe Zion comes back and he learns like how to really play defense. You never really know for real. That's just young teams got to be patient. And I think they're buying into what Willie Green is selling. I think with their previous head coaches, especially Stan Van Gundy, they weren't buying in because Stan's more of an old mind. Willie Green was a former player. He's only 40 years old. He's pretty young. He's young. He's a young guy.
If you would have told me that man is 35, I would have believed you.
He looks like he can still play for real.
Yeah.
No joke. So it's I think they're buying into what he's speaking, and very Monty Williams. I know he was just on the staff last year, but those guys just remind me of each other, man. Former players that their teams just buy into what they're saying, and you love to see that. I think this team's gonna be special, man, especially with Zion coming back. Interested to see what's the pecking order going to be. I think it can still be maybe Brandon Ingram's a go-to guy, but Zion's still going to get his because they're just that good together. And then CJ as a closer type dude who can play the 1 and the 2 big time. And then you got Herb Jones who's only going to get better. He's only a rookie. Jose, Trey Murphy has some really nice moments too. Jackson Hayes has shown improvement. A lot of great young talent. You got some vets mixed in there too, like Larry Nance, Jonas Valanciunas. This team, I'm excited for their future, man. I think you said it last episode, Devin, hopefully our expectations aren't too high on them because that letdown can happen. But I still think they're a team that should make a nice little jump next season for sure. Just shows you the West is just going to continue to get better with all the guys that are coming back from injuries.
Yeah,
Zion was head over heels for that extension.
He seemed happy.
It's good, man. It's good to see. But yeah, no, the West is going to be fun. You got the Pelicans taking a jump. The Clippers will take a jump. Who knows what'll happen with Portland yet? It's going to be fun out there for sure.
Thanks.
Bro, there was some video that came out. I think it was either on the NBA's Instagram page or on the Pelicans Instagram page of them coming back into the building and everybody applauding them. Bro, Zion walked in and was high-fiving everybody and was getting hype. I'm bro, you did not play a single minute.
He probably seems like they're trying to do something now. They're actually serious about, winning some games.
Yeah. I'm happy that Zion is invested. I think that's good to see. I know our time's about to run out, but that was just super nice to see that he is caring and is engaged because that was a big complaint with him.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, it's good to see.
I mean, Alvarado, Trey Murphy, and Herb Jones are literally going to be the next Steph, Clay, and Dre.
Imagine.
Could be, maybe.
I'd be with it.
I think Jose, he's one of those players, if he was on your team, you would absolutely love him. But going against him, kind of hate him. he was kind of pissing me off with, going at Chris Paul because that's my guy. But I also respect it because dude was just playing in the G League a few months ago. But he got a 4-year deal, so that's big time, man. I love seeing guys from the G League get guaranteed contracts.
That's a big W.
I think
that's the classic kind of guy to come from the G League, just that pest.
Facts. He has to play like that to stay in the league, which I love to see because he's maybe 5'8", bro. He's not that tall.
Facts.
Hey, we did find out that he can shoot though.
He can. He was making some big plays, bro. I forget which game it was, but he was hitting some big shots. I don't know if they ended up winning, but he was making some big plays down the stretch, bro. And then Chris Paul had to put that stuff to bed last game, though.
Yeah, Chris Paul decided literally not to miss a single shot. So he was making the defense just look silly. Chris Paul, that if you look at the highlight tape though, it's that man shot 14 for 14 like that. If you look at all those shots that went in, the amount of friendly bounces this man got, where it hit the front lip and I'm bro.
11 jumpers, which is crazy. It wasn't layups, it was jumpers, middies, bro. He was going crazy, bro. But
crazy.
Let's go. Let's talk about our favorite team, the team that we always bring up every podcast, bro. Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz, man. I'm hoping that they finally just at least hopefully Donovan Mitchell requests out or something. But I hope that it's time. I really hope it's time, bro, because there's no way that you should play 3 games without Luka Doncic and lose 2 of those and had a chance to lose 3 of them. Like, there's no reason for that, bro, especially when you're a team that's still as talented as the Jazz are. We know they're not a championship team, but they're still a team that can win a series. And they was letting Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie and Maxi Kleber give it to them in those 3 games. And then by the time Luka came back, we just kind of knew, like, there's no chance that they win this series. They had a chance to at least push it to 7. Nobody was really believers, man. And I'm hoping that big changes do come because there's no reason for this team to stay in mediocrity like this, man. And I think they could jumpstart a rebuild if they do decide to trade Donovan. Maybe they keep Rudy so they can still be a competent team. But, man, hopefully big changes happen sooner than later. Maybe Quinn Snyder moves on too because it's just, like we said, man, same story over and over. So, what was y'all's reaction to that series ending and the Dallas Mavericks also pulling off their first series win in like 11 years?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of inevitable. Like you said, once Luka was back, Utah didn't have enough of a lead by the time Luka came around for it to matter. At that point,
yeah,
everyone knew if Luka was ready to go, the Dallas were going to win that series. So if Utah weren't going to have a commanding lead before Luka came back, no one knew when that was going to be. But ultimately, Utah didn't have a commanding enough lead because once Luka was back, they didn't have a shot. Mavericks look very good. I think they'll put up a fight against the Suns. I don't think that's going to be any bit of an easy series for them. But like you say, with Utah having the potential to start a really good rebuild, they have the upside with the value of Donovan Mitchell, and even with an unideal contract and the controversy surrounding Rudy Gobert, still good value there that you could get in return. If you completely decide to go the way of a rebuild, whatever you get back for Donovan, plus whatever you get back for Rudy, plus a couple of drafting years, that has the potential to be a very, very good team, assuming you actually draft well, which of course is always the variable. But I mean, you're going to get a lot of value back for Donovan Mitchell. You're probably going to get a decent young player still. I doubt you're just going to get picks, or at least I would hope you don't get picks, in which case don't trade him. But assuming you get a decent young player and some picks, and you get some return for Rudy, and you can get a couple of high first-round picks of your own over the next couple of years, there's no reason why Utah can't rebuild themselves into being a very decent team again. But I don't see any reason for them to just continue the way they're doing. If they trade away Rudy, which unless Donovan Mitchell asks out is probably what I think is most likely for them to do this summer, that team has no defense.
No.
Like, you can say whatever you say about Rudy, whatever you think about Rudy. If they trade away Rudy, they keep Donovan Mitchell, and they try and rebuild that team's probably worse. Yes. Because regardless of what you get back for Rudy, unless you replace him with another good, decent defensive center, which only happens probably if you trade Rudy to Atlanta and you get Capella back, then that defense is going to be absolutely horrific. That is going to be one of the worst defenses in the league. So regardless of Utah having a good offense, regardless of Donovan Mitchell being good, that team will not be able to defend anyone. So I implore them, do not just trade Rudy, because Donovan will then be asking out a year later. That does not solve anything. I hope they just rebuild, but if they're going to do anything, if they just trade Rudy, they probably aren't going anywhere.
I'm so sick for Donovan. These last 3 years now, it's like the bubble, game 7, bro plays his heart out the whole series. He dropped 50 2 or 3 times, average dang near 40 for the series. Watches the game end on Mike Conley shooting it in and out. Then the next year comes back, a game away from the conference finals. Terrence Mann drops 40, and he goes home. And now this year, Bojan was that wide open. There's a chance that I would have made that shot. I'm not saying I would have made that shot, but when you're that wide open, yeah, there's a chance that one of us could have made that shot.
Sometimes you're too open. For real.
He had to be shaking in his boots because it wasn't even like an in and out. He bricked that thing. And so it's like the fact that 2 of the last 3 years, you just simply like watched the game fall away on like your teammates missing. If I'm like the top guy, I'm like, dude, I want the ball in my hands. If it's game time, I want the ball in my hands. And I know like there's definitely something better about running actual play and running your offense. Now, the bubble series, like that play was like super spur of the moment. Like they didn't have no time to plan anything.
Yeah.
But in this situation, dude, I know he's got to be feeling some kind of way.
Let me ask y'all this, because I feel like the two teams that are like always linked to Donovan Mitchell are the Knicks and the Heat. Would y'all trade RJ Barrett for Donovan Mitchell? 'Cause I don't think I would.
No. Because once
No,
Donovan gets there, what's going to make him want to stay? Is that a better situation for him than Utah? I don't think so.
Yeah, I'd probably just stick with RJ. I think I'd just stick with RJ.
I mean, yeah, if he's like tired of Utah being a perennial like first, second round out, when he goes to a team that's perennially not in the playoffs, like, what are you gonna do then?
Would y'all trade a package around Tyler Hero for Donovan Mitchell?
Probably not for chemistry reasons and cap reasons.
Interesting.
Because I know like Tyler Hero's probably gonna get a decent bag, but I don't think it's as much as Donovan. And if you're trying to keep Jimmy and Bam and
Interesting. So that's what I'm wondering. I don't know what his market would be. Like how many teams just be like really lining up like, ooh, we need Donovan Mitchell. I don't know. And the same like how you said, Devin, like if they trade Rudy, they might as well just trade everybody in that case because Rudy is the viable reason why they're like a playoff team in a 4 or 5 seed at least every year. Like because Rudy's that good. Like he's that game changing defensively. So I don't know. They're in a weird spot. Danny Ainge is in there now, so we'll see what he does. We'll see if Donovan even asks out. I'm not sure, but they're in such a weird spot. They could potentially jumpstart a rebuild, but it's also like, who's going to trade a lot of assets to get Donovan Mitchell? I'm not sure, because we've never even seen Donovan Mitchell with like other viable pieces, like, real go-to guys. Like, I couldn't really imagine him playing with a Jimmy Butler. I don't know how that would look, And then if he goes to the Knicks and, if you give up RJ Barrett, then it's like, he's just basically going to like a similar situation, maybe worse, basically.
Yeah, probably worse.
Such a weird spot, man. I'm glad though, like they might have to force their hand has actually been forced because there's no way that you bring the same team back next season and expect like fans to be happy or even like players to be happy. I think the ship has sailed with the Jazz team. They had their opportunity and they didn't make the most of it. And especially this season, this might be worse than last year because this last year, like you had Paul George, who's like a superstar caliber player. Like, okay, he can turn up in a series, but no disrespect to Jalen Brunson because I love his game a lot. But there's no reason why you should let Jalen Brunson, average 30 points on you with Luka Doncic out, bro. There's no reason at all. So, yeah, shout out to the Mavs, though. I'm very happy, and I think this next series, I'm going to be real, I think it's a 7-game series. I think this series is going to 7. I'm going to take the Suns, but I think it's a 7-game series, man, because I think the Mavs are, like, really locked in, playing some of their best basketball. Luka's that good, and he's only getting healthier as the playoffs go on. And I just think these teams match up really well. I really do, man. I think DeAndre Ayton is going to be the X factor in this next series for sure. He has to be big time. He has to take advantage of Dwight Powell matching up with him, Maxi Kleber when he's in the game. That's going to be big, man. I'm excited for this one. I think this, other than Celtics Bucks, I think this is going to be the best series of the next round.
Yeah, no, I
I'll say
agree.
Suns in 6.
Respect it.
I think it's Suns in 6.
Yeah, I got Suns in 6 as well, but I definitely would not be shocked if that goes 7. I think that's going to be if it's 6, it's a tight Suns in 6. I think that's going to be a very hard-fought series. But, yeah, I would completely agree. I think it's definitely the next best second-round series after Boston and Brooklyn, or pardon me, Boston and why am I blanking? Milwaukee.
Yeah. I think
Stuck
Boston
in last
Milwaukee
year,
will be the
apparently.
most.
Yeah, I think the season series was like 3-1 to Suns, but they haven't played since the trade deadline. So this obviously is a completely different Dallas team. And I think 2 of the games also Luka did not play. So it's like almost the regular season really does not matter in this case. Like this is basically these 2 teams matching up with each other for the first time. So that's going to be an exciting series, man. Y'all want to move on? I mean, we touched on like the Timberwolves a little bit, that series.
Yeah, I got to talk about Minnesota for a bit. I got to talk about Minnesota for a bit.
Hey,
Go
John
ahead.
grittied all the way home.
Go ahead, speak your piece then, man, because I think we all got something to say about the Timberwolves.
I want to be optimistic. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have Anthony Edwards, you have Karl Anthony Towns, you have D'Angelo Russell. There's some other nice pieces there. McDaniel still has some upside. I really was not encouraged by what I saw from this team from pretty much everyone outside of Anthony Edwards. I really wasn't. They fought well. It was a 6-game series, but it should have been better than a 6-game series. It should have been 7. If not, they should have won it based on how many leads they had, how many blown leads they had, their lack of effort at times, specifically on the glass. The rebounding differential in some games was absolutely outrageous. I think they got out-rebounded by 18 in Game 6, which even if you are just a worse rebounding team is just simply not acceptable, especially in a winner-go-home game. Karl Anthony Towns really struggled in the playoffs, and sure, now it's still limited playoff experience for him. Maybe the matchup wasn't great for him, but I think it's also fair to start questioning how legitimately good of a playoff performer he can be. D'Angelo Russell had a very rough series and ultimately didn't even close out the last game of the series for them. I'm not completely down on this Minnesota Timberwolves team. I think they're still going to be very good again next year. I think they'll be a playoff team again. But outside of Anthony Edwards, I think it's definitely fair to have some concerns about the rest of this core of this group come playoff time. Regular season-wise, I think this is a very good team. But I don't love how they're built for the playoffs currently. Karl Anthony Towns could figure it out, but if he doesn't figure it out, they're really just relying on Anthony Edwards to become a superstar, which isn't out of the realm of possibility, but it's not exactly what I was expecting heading into the playoffs for them this year.
I think they can afford to run it back. I think, like, they were a play-in team this year, but they were, like, very clearly, like, well above
They
even
were
like where the
8
8 seed was. Yeah, like there was clearly a gap between like the 8, 9, 10 seeds and them. So it's like they were much more in the range of the top 6 than 8 through 10. And the biggest criticism on them has just been like they're so young, like they struggle to like kind of close out those games and just doing a lot of stupid things just that like comes with not having experience. So it's like, I think for now, I think you can give it like one more season, see how things progress. And then if you kind of start to stagnate, then it's like, okay, now we got to kind of look at some things going on. Because it's like, even if you look at this series, it's like D'Angelo Russell played really bad. But it's like, if you go back to like the play-in, like D'Angelo Russell might have been the best player in that game that secured them a playoff spot in a very tight game. So then it's like, yeah, he didn't play good in that matchup. Yeah. But, like, he still has his moments where he's a valuable asset to the team. And then, obviously, you're not going to move off of, like, Cat or anybody else, really. Definitely not off Edwards. So, yeah, I think for now it's like you're good. Coach Finch, I mean, this is the best this team has been besides Jimmy Butler since 2004. So, yeah, I think this was a successful season for them. I think you're a 7 seed going to 6 in the first round. Like, that's not really a bad outcome. Like, yes, the way that the 6 games went, yeah, you probably could have capitalized on it a little bit more. But if you just look at it at face value and say, we were a team that has barely made the playoffs in this millennium, and we were a 7 seed, and we took it to 6. That's respectable. The other 7 seed got swept.
It definitely is, but it's like Devin said, they had every opportunity to win the series. Like, every chance, bro. And I just think, like, moving forward, it's like you don't want to have that drop-off like we've seen some teams have that, like, came out of nowhere, I guess, and made the playoffs. Like, you know, the Knicks last season was, like, the popular example. So they might have to make some moves. And it's like, I like D'Angelo Russell. I think he's adjusted his game to where he's been more of a traditional point guard. His defense was a lot better this season. He's always been a hot and cold player. Like, some games he might go off for 40, and then next game he'll have like 12 points. Like, that's just how he's always been. So it's like, I think the tough thing is like you have a max contract locked up and like that's his spot. He's a max player right now, which is just so tough because it's like he's not a max player. Like he's not giving you max production. So I guess like a lot of people are probably looking at him like, oh yeah, he's got to go because they got so much money tied up into him. I think they can afford to bring like the same core back next season and maybe just like make some like, excess moves on the outside, like just maybe getting some extra shooters in there and stuff, some 3-and-D guys. I still feel like they can be like a play-in type team next season, but the West is only going to get better. So like you're going to have to get better. You're going to have to make tough moves too. Cat has to be better, man. If we're putting him in the top 3 center discussion and we're putting him a tier below Jokic and Embiid, you got to be better than, Nick Vucevic. Like you got to show that you're better than that tier of a center. Like you can't have games where you're only putting up like 5 shots. You can't do that, bro. Like you just can't. You're supposed to be an all-star. You're supposed to be an all-NBA player. You can't do that stuff, man. He's got to be better for sure. I think the popular thing is like maybe this is Anthony Edwards' team moving forward. I think he's shown like that's his type of talent. I mean, he averaged 25 points in his first playoff series, which is big. So, we'll see. I still think, like we said, successful season. Not many people expected them to be a playoff team. But they were that, and they won a couple games. They pushed the 2 seed, a 55, 56 win team to 6 games and pushed them to the brink of that 6th game. Like it was a close game down the stretch, had a chance to win that game. So it's not like a big letdown. I think some fans are probably disappointed in the way that it ended. But the fact that, you got playoff basketball back in Minnesota, which is like something we've only been able to say twice in almost 2 decades. It's still a big time deal. I think moving forward, they got, a lot of good young pieces. Jaden McDaniels was really good. McLaughlin showed some very good signs in this series. They got talent, man. They got a lot of talent. I think they'll be back next season. It's just a matter of if the entire core will be back. But I think they will because I think it'll be hard to move off of D'Angelo Russell and get, like, better in that sense. But I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see. But still, successful season nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, if Utah called on the phone and said, Minnesota, whoever Minnesota's GM is, I don't know. I don't know who their GM is, so I'm going to just say Alex Rodriguez.
Danny Ainge. Oh, you're talking about Minnesota. I actually don't know who their GM is.
If he picked up the phone right now and Utah said, okay, I'll give you Don for Russell, Jaden McDaniels, and picks.
No.
They're saying no?
I'm saying
no. I don't know why.
No?
Like, I feel like I'm saying no if I'm Minnesota. You have Anthony Edwards. You don't need Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I can't see
those players don't need to coexist on the same team. I think they could make it work together, but if you're going to make a big splash, I don't think you'd trade for someone who does roughly the same thing.
Only way you do that is if you have like Ben Simmons on your roster. That's the only way.
Yeah.
And they don't. Nah. It's just like. I like Jaden McDaniels a lot as like a long-term piece. I don't even think he's scratched the surface of what he can be in the NBA, bro. Like he's just been like 3-and-D so far, really good defensively, and his 3-point shot was falling in some of the games in this series. But I don't know. Like I don't know. Donovan Mitchell, Anthony Edwards, 2 very similar players, bro. And Dono can't. He can't play the one.
That's exactly why I think, like, if they were going to try to get off a D'Lo and, like, get the best player in the deal, that's why I think they'd have to include somebody like that another team sees as a good long-term piece.
For a team like this, I think, like, I'm trying to think of, like, I don't think they need somebody that's more talented than D'Angelo Russell. Just probably somebody that's more steady for less money. Like, I think that would fit. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, a point guard.
Ricky Rubio, third term.
I'd like you could argue he's better, but I'd like Malcolm Brogdon on this team.
I would love Malcolm Brogdon. Even though I like him better as a 2, I think he would still play well because it would probably be a lot more off-ball anyways.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't mind it because I like him at the 2 as well. That's why I'm really happy Tyrese is there, assuming Brogdon doesn't get traded.
Even the Jalen Brunson type of dude, like I think he would be a little more steady, probably for a little less money. They were trying to get Marcus Smart, and I see why. He would be perfect on this team, man. Like he would be really perfect. But somebody in that mold, like, doesn't have to be like, oh, he can get you 35 some nights. But just somebody like, he can get you like, 12 to 15, be very efficient, play good defense. and just put guys in the right spots. Like, I think that's the perfect type of point guard for this team. Nothing against D'Lo, because I really do like D'Lo, and I like how he's adjusted his game. But for the amount of money that he's making, it's just like, the team can't get that much better with that hefty contract on the books.
Yeah, definitely. And once Anthony Edwards inevitably signs his extension, then they're fully going to be locked into that three-man group unless one of them gets traded.
Exactly.
If Dallas were to let Brunson slip, dude, Luka might end up being available. I'm just saying.
That's going to be the big story, like a big storyline this offseason, because the free agency class is not loaded. And the way he's played in the playoffs, he's deserving of whatever he wants right now.
Yeah, they're backing up the Brinks truck for that, man.
Like, they didn't want to give him the 4 for 80, I think. That's what he wanted, if I'm not mistaken.
I wanted to say it was 4 for 55.
For real?
Yeah. I don't think it was 480.
I'm gonna be real. I would give him 4 for 80, because I feel like
I would too.
I feel like somebody might offer him more. For real.
Yeah. No, I definitely think.
What do you guys think Tyler Hero is gonna get? Because I think he's gonna get 100 mil. I think he'll get either 4 or 5 years, 100 mil.
Depends on if he stays in Miami, 100 mil.
Yeah, I think you have to give.
I can see them giving
gets
that
like
man
a John
$25
Collins.
million.
I think he gets like a John Collins type contract in and around that range, that 5-year 125, 4-year 100, something like that. I don't think you get him for any less.
Paying a 6 man that much is ridiculous. That is crazy.
I feel like Pat Riley is on some like slick stuff. I don't know. I feel like Tyler Hero is easily starter quality. I swear they're just like, oh yeah, we're gonna keep him on the bench so that way we can give him his money, get a team friendly deal, and then bring this man in the starting lineup, give him like 35 plus minutes a game. I don't know. I feel like that contract was coming up and they were like, we don't want to get his prices too high. I mean, yes, it's like, okay, maybe, yes, other players just fit better with the starting lineup. But, bro, you can't tell me that Tyler Hero is not, like, the third best player on that team.
Oh, for sure. I can't give him more than, like, 22. Like, that's the most I would give him per year. I'll give him, like, 20.
Yeah, I don't think you get him for any less than 25 because someone will give it to him for sure. But
Sacramento about to come calling. You know what to do with Zach LaVine?
Detroit.
Sacramento don't have money, man. That's the weird thing. They don't. Like, if they re-sign Dante this summer, they're gonna have like 10 or 50 mil in cap space, and that's it.
I saw they're trying to get coaches like Steve Clifford. I saw Mark Jackson.
Yeah.
What was the other name? It was
With all due respect, I would knock that out of the park.
I'm about to look and see who the other coach was, because it was another coach that was like, oh, he can get you to the playoffs.
Yeah, it was some decent names. The report for Brunson was Dallas could have signed Brunson to a 4-year extension for as much as $55.5 million, but the Mavs didn't offer it, nor did they engage in negotiations with Brunson's representatives.
This the opposite of Nerlens Noel.
Mike Brown. Brown's the guy.
Okay, yeah. Nerlens Noel, man. He got his bag, so fair play. But
yeah. I love when guys bet on themselves, because what you mean I ain't worth 4 for 55?
Bruh. Okay, so. But Nerlens Noel should have taken that contract, bro. I'm sorry. That's when you bet on yourself and it fails.
Dennis Schroeder too.
Yeah, Dennis Schroeder too. But there's some good ones from that this year, because Ayton held out on getting a max, and he'll likely get a max. Miles Bridges held out and bet on himself, and he'll significantly improve his money value. Jalen Brunson, same thing. He's going to get a lot more money than he would have got otherwise. So it's nice to see, man. Been some good,
if Ayton
good
gets a max, I want to see what happens with Mikal. If Ayton gets the max,
he's already extended.
Mikal already got his extension. He's good. Yep.
They paid everybody last offseason except for DeAndre. They paid
Landry Shamet.
They got that much money?
Bro, I don't know how, but yeah, they do.
Yeah, Miles Bridges will be.
Not my thing.
Me neither.
Bridges will be making $23 million for the next 4 years as his average.
I don't get why they paid Landry Shamet. Like, he's cool. He's okay.
That was a Monty Williams extension, is what that was.
Had to be, bro.
But Yeah, the Suns currently have $128 million already committed next year, not including anything for DeAndre Ayton. So they are spending the money right now, and I'm with it because they should be while they got Chris Paul under contract. But
Yeah, this is your window. Like, you got to win a championship, bro.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if I'm Phoenix's owner, I'm paying that luxury tax.
Something he never does. So I hope he proves us wrong.
Man, nah.
Fix the mold.
What if they win the championship? Would y'all be okay with them letting DeAndre walk?
No. No. I want them to keep DA.
If they win a title, I mean, if they win a title, it's like Kawhi Leonard, bro. They won a title. Did they lose? No.
I think it's a little different because DeAndre's only like 23, 22, 23.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's like
let him walk right now.
Yeah, it's like I feel like you let him walk, then like D Book's still around. He probably walks as a UFA 2 years down the road. If DA's gone, Chris Paul's probably done, or if not, is very much a shell of what he currently is.
Yeah.
That team's not going to be anywhere near as good. So
You
don't re-sign DA, you're in a pretty good risk of losing Devin Booker in a couple of years as well.
I don't know. Devin Booker's probably a Suns lifer. Just in my mind, the way I know the conversation comes up all the time, but just knowing who Devin Booker looks up to and how he modeled his game, I feel like that man is not leaving the Suns.
Oh, I thought you were about to say he's about to go to Lakers. I was about to grill you, Gabe.
Hell nah.
But what's up? Let's move on to the second round matchup. Shout out to the Grizzlies for winning that series. They get to play the team that looks like the best team in the Western Conference right now, the Golden State Warriors. How confident are y'all that Memphis can pull off an upset? Because I'm
Memphis in 7.
For real?
Okay.
Being for real?
You know what? Because I'm gonna have to go against the grain. I've been saying Memphis is gonna shock the world.
Okay.
I hopped fully on the bandwagon, and the fact that they still got it done. Everybody expected the Timberwolves to give them some problems.
They did.
Ja Morant, per his dad, played terrible. He played, according to T. Morant, he played like trash. And they still took that series in 6 games. And so it's like, bro, all Ja Morant has to do is play better.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean.
And you know what? I think going against the Warriors, I think he is going to play better because I think
he is too.
He always plays good against them. And unless you're giving Gary Payton like 30 minutes a game, which they're not, who's going to stop him? Clay? Nah. Okay, I'll take John against Clay. You ain't going to put Steph on him. You ain't going to put Jordan Poole on him. I think he's slated to play better. You know what? And I think the Timberwolves, they had like at least the personnel. Like Pat Bev is going to make it difficult on you. No matter how you look at it, man. He's going to really just not like dirty the game up, but he's going to make you work for real. Like, that's just how it is. And they got McDaniels, they got Vanderbilt. Like, they got the guys that, Ja, you're not going to beat us. I don't think the Warriors have that. With that being said, I think they're going to have to grow up really fast. So the Grizzlies are. They're going to have to really grow up, man, because you're playing against probably the most experienced team that's left in the postseason, at least core-wise, the most experienced core that's left in the playoffs, man. And the Grizzlies show, like, they can have some mental lapses as a young team. If they are going to win this series, Gabe, they're going to have to really grow up fast. Ja's going to have to play like the MVP candidate that he was for much of the season. And, Desmond May's going to have to keep it up. Jaren Jackson cannot get in foul trouble. They're going to have to grow up fast. Taylor Jenkins is going to have to grow up fast as a playoff coach. And it's going to take a lot, but things working for them. They do have home court advantage. And they kind of got the Warriors' number. Like, in big-time situations, they play good against the Golden State Warriors. So I'm hoping it's a competitive series, but I'm leaning towards, like, Golden State. And I'm going to say 6. Yesterday I said 5, but today I'm going to say 6. I'm going to say 6 games. But I hope it is a 7-game series because I think it can be another classic, man. Just like much.
We need one.
We do. We need one.
Definitely. Yeah, I got Golden State in 6 as well. I do like what Memphis have from a matchup standpoint offensively, and obviously they've played Golden State well before. My concern for Memphis is the matchups defensively. Even with Steven Adams coming back, whenever he does come back, he's going to be a terrible matchup again in this series. He struggled when he played early on when they played against the Timberwolves, and I think he's going to struggle in this Golden State matchup again as well. You might see some minutes for him against Draymond, but for the most part, I think Steven Adams is not a great matchup on the defensive end for this series. Ultimately, Golden State just have a really good offense. Steven Adams is going to get played out, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be in a situation where he's going to have to guard against a lot of guys that are moving, that are trying to attack, that have, as much as Jaren Jackson Jr. does have good athleticism and good lateral quicks for his size, just he's going to be playing against a lot of guys that are a lot quicker than him. So he's going to be in a situation where he's going to have to do part of that growing up that Memphis are going to have to do as a whole coming into this series to try and avoid some of those fouls, because if he can't, they might get played out of this series pretty quick. If Adams gets himself in a situation where his matchup is bad and Jaren Jackson Jr. can't stay on the floor, Brandon Clark and Xavier Tillman running the show down low just isn't going to get the job done, as much as Brandon Clark has had a great playoffs and Tillman's had to fill in. But I hope Memphis can keep it competitive, but the experience of Golden State and the advantage they have in their offensive matchups, I think, is going to make it so that they are going to have a significant advantage. I do think Memphis will get a couple of games out of it. I think Ja is going to be able to have a much better series. Hopefully Dylan Brooks can have a little bit more consistency as well, because he had some good games, as he did in Game 6 where he was really shooting from deep, but he also had a couple of really, really bad ones where he just starts shot chucking and nothing's falling. But ultimately, it's another series in for Memphis. Hopefully that experience helps them, but Golden State got the experience and they got the better team as far as I'm concerned.
Hey, I trust in Dez and Dylan on them switches, man. Like, just the way Golden State plays and just that switch everything. If you're running a lineup of, like, Ja, Dez, Dylan, like, Brandon, Clark, and Jaren, I think they can switch that pretty effectively. I think if Jaren wants to avoid some kind of foul trouble, it's like, if his matchup, like his direct matchup is Draymond, now obviously they're going to find a way to switch him onto somebody. But, like, Draymond doesn't shoot the ball that much. So then it's like,
Thanks.
that's kind of like that's a big positive as far as Memphis's chances go.
I think the good thing is we've seen young teams be able to grow up quickly. The first one that came to mind, I mean, the Hawks kind of did it last season. They were able to kind of grow up fast. The 2018 Celtics, like, they went to 7 in their first round series, and then, you know, they beat the hell out of the it was a close series, but they really, like, dominated the series against Philly, you know, winning that in 5 games. So, I mean, it's possible, and I would assume they're the underdog in this matchup, even though they're the higher seed. So it's possible that they can grow up fast, and they have, you know, one of the better players in the series too, in John Morant. It's one of those things, like, I think everything has to go perfect for them to win the series, which is asking a lot, because the Warriors, they typically don't beat themselves. Even though it's, you know, they don't have KD anymore, they typically don't beat themselves. So I don't know. I'm hoping it's a dogfight for sure, because this has a chance to be just a fun series. But it's going to take a lot for Memphis to pull off the upset. But I like that Gabe is I like that you're pulling for him. 7 games. I like to see that.
Yeah, I mean, if Jordan Poole and Clay are like that, like 26 points per game each type duo, like, it's probably GG for Memphis. But, like, if John Morant gets back to form and it's like Clay and Poole aren't hitting at the same time or something, Memphis can steal it.
Yeah, Ja got to be better on defense too, man. They was picking on him badly. I don't think I really realized, like, he's not really a good defender. I don't think I ever noticed that. I always think, like, he has the capabilities because he's so athletic and active, but he was just being lazy and just getting picked on. Pat Bev was picking on him. Like, nah, you don't got to be all NBA caliber defender, but you got to be at least competent in the playoffs, man, because matchups are everything, and they will search you out and they will kill you. Even though the Warriors don't typically do that, but still, when you got Steph, Clay, and the way Jordan Poole's been playing, you know, you got to be on your toes defensively. You got to be better.
Yeah, no, definitely. Especially when you talk about a Golden State team, if you allow a little bit of dribble penetration right off the rip for whoever Jaw's defending, you let those guys start having ball movement and player movement once you get the ball in the paint, and there's just no recovering from a defensive standpoint. So he's definitely got to pick it up on that end, and he's got the athleticism to do it, but sometimes it just takes a bit of time.
Did we give predictions for the other series, or did we just kind of talked about him.
I know from what we've talked about, I said Miami in 5.
Yeah, Miami
I
were
said
good.
Memphis in 6. I think I said Suns in
We said
6 because you
Suns.
guys were saying it was a 7-game series.
Yeah.
Boston, Milwaukee.
I think we
I don't think we gave a prediction for that.
I think we talked about that off the rip. I think.
We did. Did we give
I
predictions? I don't think we
I
said.
didn't give a prediction, but if I had to, Milwaukee in 7.
That's fair.
Giannis is gonna prove that he's the best player in the world, even further than he already has.
I'm gonna say 7 too, but I'm gonna go with the Celtics. I just think home court would be big. Only one player has ever won in the Boston won a game 7, and that's LeBron.
Yeah, I got Celtics in 6. I think Chris Middleton being out is really going to hurt. Well, Giannis is good, but he needs his second man. He needs his perimeter score.
My championship favorite, yeah, it's changed since last episode. Book's back. I'm back on the Suns. Like what? I'm back on the Suns.
Yeah, it definitely helps knowing that he's back and ready to go.
But I will say the Warriors have made like me not as confident as I've been saying all season long.
Yeah,
they've made it. It's like I almost forgot. This is the Golden State Warriors that we're talking about here.
Yeah, we just haven't seen them healthy all year, right? So it was you can only give them so much of the benefit of the doubt when we haven't seen this group play together in 2+ years.
No doubt.
But it definitely makes for an interesting Western Conference now. I think
Definitely
either of those teams could go through for sure.
Man, I said Boston, Golden State. Boston's having a bad shooting night in Game 1, man. They might be going home.
You overreacting to Game 1s?
Yeah, I think this
You're
is
a Raptors fan, man. Come on now.
Because what happened? What happened last time? What happened last time? Milwaukee and Boston had a Game 1 against each other. Boston won. A certain somebody came on live television and said it's over. I can't see the other team coming back from this. And what happened?
Gentlemen sweep the other way.
So,
I was on my high horse after that win too. I remember that. And then the next 4 games probably had me more angry than any basketball series that my team was involved in. And I've seen some heartbreaking series with the Celtics, bro. But that series just had me straight up mad. Like Kyrie was getting clamped by Eric Bledsoe. Jason Tatum was nowhere to be found. Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, Boston's pretty much been the Packers for the last 5 years. You make it to the game before the finals, then you just fall there every year. So it wouldn't be right it would not be right if Boston didn't at least make the conference finals. Basically like a rite of passage to beat them there. But if they can make it through, like I said last episode, it's about that time.
Yeah, I think the only time I saw like a Game 1 really like break a series was – I hate to bring this up for y'all, but LeBron 2018. I think that Game 1 was like, oh, this series might be over.
Yeah, they literally didn't lead the entire game. And then at the very end, force OT, it was over.
I think that's really the only time. And maybe like if you want to go back to like the 95 finals, 94 finals, where the Magic played Hakeem.
Nick Anderson.
I think that might be the only other time like a series was over after one game that I can like think of off the top of my head, of course. Because
besides like a bunch of like 1-8 matchups, like Detroit versus Milwaukee a couple years ago, that was over after about a quarter.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like just a game where like a team spirit was just like taken from them, and they could not recover. That doesn't happen often, man, because it's a 7-game series for a reason. Like the better team usually prevails.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, even in these like series that ended, like we said last episode that like we thought like Dallas broke Utah, but like that last game still came down to Bojan literally selling the entire season. He probably that miss might like destroy a franchise the same way Damian Lillard shot destroyed OKC. Like he missed that shot, and now they might go into a rebuild.
Gabe, I saw you post the memory of that shot, and I just remember watching that live, and like my jaw just dropped. I was like, I couldn't believe he had the audacity to take that shot. and then make it.
Dude, that was the craziest shot I had ever seen for 2 weeks.
Was that this? That was the same as Kawhi, wasn't it?
Yes. And 2 weeks later, I was watching Game 7, and I was sitting on my couch, and I fell on the floor. I was just like, what?
You and me both.
What did I just see?
The way I reacted, you would have thought I was a Raptors fan, bro. Like, real talk.
Man, I think any real
Life was
basketball
good.
fan had a big reaction to that. Like, that's just something we may never see again in our lifetime. Like,
That's the only time I've ever hated Jimmy Butler. Because in that fourth quarter, bro, Kawhi or somebody on the Raptors would get a bucket. Jimmy Butler would just come down the other way and just make some BS. Or, like, it was like the second to last possession of the game. I swear they got, like, some steal. I think they got, like, a steal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, like, a wide-open layup. It was either him or Toby, I'm pretty sure. I think it was Jimmy.
I think it was Jimmy. Yeah.
Tied up the game, and I'm like, bro, I can't stand this dude. Like, go away.
Nah, facts. Jimmy's a big-time playoff performer, man. Other than, like, last season. But other than that, big-time playoff performer.
yeah, no,
Man,
definitely.
last season, there was, like, nobody on that team played good last postseason.
Nah,
Like,
man.
Tyler Hero had his sophomore slump. Bam wasn't doing nothing.
This game might be over. I ain't gonna lie. 15-point lead. We'll move on to game 2, man. This game.
Oh, yeah, Bobby Portis just about put the nail in that.
Man.
Yeah, just embrace the Raptors mentality. You just start down 0-1 every series.
Only thing I'm worried about, Ime hasn't dealt with this yet. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
That is true. This is Coach's first playoff loss.
Uncharted territory.
Still 8 minutes left, but it's not looking good.
Hey, if there's anybody to try to make adjustments against, though, it's Coach Bud, because you know he's going to come out the next game and do the same thing.
Same thing. I don't even know what adjustments he made last. I just think they just start playing better, honestly. Like, I think
yeah, he said, hey, Giannis, go drop 50, and they won.
Yeah, like they needed that. They needed a Chris Middleton 40-piece, a Drew Holiday 32-point game in Game 5.
I think Giannis being at the 5 more helped as well.
Yeah. They might have stopped running drop coverage too, because
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And Giannis being at the 5 helped them not have to run that as much as well.
Drop coverage is dead, bro. The Nuggets, I love Jokic, but the Nuggets are literally never getting out of the East as long as they keep playing that drop. I mean, the West. When you got a conference with Golden State and Phoenix in it, bro, you're not getting out of the conference.
Yeah. That series we didn't even touch on that. Very
even with Memphis in it now, like Memphis has so many shooters on the outside. That's like 3 teams. If you got to get through one of them 3 teams to win this conference, bro.
Yeah.
Can't play drop coverage.
Drop coverage is just like, I don't know why teams run that. I wish when I was playing in high school, I wish a team would have ran drop coverage.
No doubt.
Especially
would have feasted.
Nobody ran drop coverage, bro. It was either switches or you getting doubled off of the pick and roll.
Facts.
Nobody running drop coverage, man. I don't know where that idea came from. Especially now in the NBA, like that is just ridiculous to me, bro.
Yeah, there might be literally less than 5 teams in the league whose lead guard can't shoot.
Literally, yeah, legit.
Yeah.
And everybody runs pick and roll.
Yeah, exactly. Most run play in the league, it just doesn't work anymore.
And nowadays, dudes is pulling from 30 feet with ease. So it's like, man, you really gonna run drop coverage?
That is just so much space, man. Like so much space.
Man.
If someone on the opposing team running that pick and roll has got any bit of a mid-range game, you're just done.
But yeah, it's bro, you could they can get Jamal Murray and Michael Porter back, bro. You're cooked.
Yeah,
you are cooked if you're running that coverage.
As much as their defense is better, it's still not good enough. It's still not good enough.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind them seeing if they could flip Will Barton for a defensive piece or something like that. But even still, I don't know. I'm not ruling it out because their offense is so good already, and Jokic is just that good. But it's definitely tough. It's tough to not have a top 10, top 12 defense and make a push for a title. And Denver on the fringes of that, but they're not quite there.
Yeah, they need a nice two-way Not even two-way, just 3-and-D type guard next to Murray. I don't think Jamal's actually a bad defender. I think he's okay.
Yeah,
But,
he's fun.
Yeah, but you need, like, actual defensive guys. Like, I love Aaron Gordon, but I don't think he should have the burden of having to guard Steph Curry for a 7-game series.
Yeah.
You know, even though he's actually a really good defender, man. Like, I saw him – I remember last season, one of his first games in Denver, he was clamping up Kawhi. And I was like, oh, this team was so scary. But they need a little more. I think the good thing about them, they always make the right moves. So we'll see what they do in the offseason. Really getting healthy is the big thing. But I still think even then, with the West getting better, they're going to have to make some more moves just to, you know, solidify themselves as a true contender in the league next year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know who they'd bring in for that role, but I definitely think that's what they need for sure. But yeah, especially with MPJ, that's probably the biggest concern is their health, because like Jamal will come back at some point and he'll probably be good, but MPJ's just got such a history with his back injuries. That's why he fell so late in the draft. It's the only reason Denver have him. So I mean, if he can stay healthy, assuming that the start of this season wasn't was just a bit of an anomaly, then they'll be fine. But that's the biggest concern, because Jokic and Jamal Murray is still good, but MPJ as a third option, if he can be a borderline star level guy, is what really will make that team tick, because odds are they're not going to be good enough defense to have it be a two-way elite team. It's going to have to be our offense is just absolutely ridiculous, so we're outscoring you every night.
Thanks.
Bro, I mean, if Michael Porter just became like a TJ Warren, like TJ Warren plus, or like Harrison Barnes plus, I think they're fine. They got their top duo, and then like another like nice wing scorer.
I think what's good about him, like, I think last postseason was a good experience of him being like the best perimeter option, but he showed in the bubble, like, you know, I'm that guy. Like, I can, you know, if y'all need me, I can come out, put up 25, 30 points in a big game. Like, he showed that. He's still crazy young. I just think, like Devin said, it's like him staying healthy, because that back just might be an issue that's there his entire career, which is so unfortunate, man, because I remember when he was coming out of high school, it was like him and everybody else. Like, he was the talent of that class. And now you look at it, he was the 18 class, wasn't he?
I believe so, yes.
You look at that class, it's like his name doesn't really get brought up when you actually like talk about, you know, Trae Young, Luka, DeAndre Ayton. His name doesn't get brought up, and it's like going into that draft, like going into that year, he was the guy. And it's just that back injury has just held him back so much, which is so unfortunate.
Yeah, there's always a guy like that. I mean, like Harry Giles got hit with that significantly harder. Harry Giles was like, when I heard about people coming into college that year, he was like the guy. And then it got to draft time, and it's like, where did he go?
I think he was like 20th or 21st or something like that. Which is crazy.
To Sacramento, sadly.
Yeah, he was easily
20. Yeah,
he was easily the number one prospect in this class. Like, it wasn't even after he tore the ACL twice. It was like, this is still the number one guy. Which is crazy. It's like we never even got to see that at all. Even on the college.
Not at all.
Not at
all.
Injuries are so terrible.
Facts, man. Facts. Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. is 39th ranked in his draft class for games played, which is absolutely ridiculous considering there are players above him that are not even in the league anymore, like Rodion Karooks, Isaac Bonga, who's been in the D League all year. Like, that's wild.
Isaac Bonga, 2K legend. Nah, if y'all don't know about Isaac Bonga and my team, bro, I think it was 2K. It was 2K20, I think, bro. Literally every team, every budget squad. It was like a Ruby or Amethyst Isaac Bonga.
Yeah, that card was ridiculous.
It literally made me quit the game. I was so tired of it. I'm tired of playing the same player every time I hop on this game.
The card that used to irritate me the most was 2K20, the Bol one. That was like point guard, bruh. That card was a cheat code, man. That ended my team run. Like, I don't think I've touched my team since that day. Like, for real.
Bro, there was some player as soon as I got on 22, it was like it was a Rocket center. I can't remember. It wasn't Yao Ming, but it was like another like Chinese player. And bro, I
Oh,
literally
I
never
know who
heard
you're
of the
talking
dude,
about. I don't remember the name
but
though.
bro, he literally was on every single team because he was like 3,000 like MT, and just everybody had this man.
I may be saying this wrong, but Zhu Qi, something
Zuchi.
along those
Yes,
lines.
bruh. I think it was
Yeah,
like Zhao Chi.
Zhao
Yeah.
Qi. Yeah, that would be him.
But
Remember
bro,
the
that man.
Southeast Melbourne
Oh
Phoenix.
my
That name.
gosh, bro. I was so sick.
Yeah, my team be having some of the most buggy cards ever, bro.
Really does.
Real card. I remember I got my team 2K20. My team got like nasty. I remember I had the D Rose. I forget what the tiers of the cards were called, but I had the D Rose one, which was nasty, the MVP version. I had the Magic Johnson one, which he was okay. He could have been better.
I had Magic Johnson for a bit now. When I think for most of the year I was running with D Rose, and then I had Kyrie as my point guards.
I might have to go look at my team. I might still have it on there for real, but the team was pretty nasty. I just couldn't like. I don't know. I always run into like a team that just had straight like 99s, maxed out guys all the way through, and they would have those easy cards. It's like 7
Bro,
foot.
2K is so sweaty. It's so hard to like compete and have a life at the same time.
Nah, facts.
Facts though. Facts.
But this is during like lockdown, so I was like, I didn't have anything else. Like I would work during the day still, but once I got home, I didn't have anything else to do. So I'm like, might as well just get on 2K, see how good I can get my team.
Yeah, I feel that.
Oh yeah, that was a great summer for gaming, but
Yeah.
bro, I barely was touching grass. We'll say that.
Facts though. Facts.
I was talking with one of my friends the other day, and I was like, we was just talking about like how like the early stages of COVID feels like it was so long ago. And it was like 2 years ago, but it feels like it was so long because it feels like that time period lasted longer than it did. Which is just like, man, time's just flying, bro. Like real talk.
I mean, 2 years is a pretty long time, especially like I think at our age, like college type age, it's like you're going different places, you're moving, like doing new things that you've never done before while all this like turbulent stuff is happening. So then it's like it's just so much going on at once that it kind of does seem like it moves in slow motion a little bit.
Nah, thanks. But it's also like this time of our lives seems like the time goes by so fast. Like this is my first year at Ohio State. This year feels like it's gone by so fast. Like it's ridiculous, bro. Like I remember my first day of classes in fall semester like it was yesterday, and it's like, man, the spring semester's over now. So it's like, time don't slow down for anybody, bro. It's really crazy. Just like how like last like postseason, like I keep seeing videos and stuff from like the Bucks net series and things like that. Like there were no fans for in the building, which is just like it's like I don't even really remember like dang, there was like really no fans for most of the season last year, which is just like crazy to think about.
Yeah, no, it is wild. It definitely feels like it's a lot longer ago than just a year ago. Like that's completely wild.
Dude, I honestly always forget like for the longest time, I was like, who were like the top seeds last year? Because I was trying to think of like the West, and I'm like,
The Jazz was the best team in basketball.
Yes, bruh.
Yeah.
And I thought about it. I'm like, the Jazz were really the 1 seed.
They won like 52 games.
52, yeah. They were 52-20 in a 72-game season.
It was like the Suns were a little behind them, but they were like 2 or 3 games back.
Yeah, the Jazz had 52. The Suns were 51-21, and then the Nuggets and the Clippers both had 47 wins.
And then they eat like literally like the 1 seed last year was Utah and Philly. That's so random.
Philly was the 1 seed, bro.
Yeah.
Because they faced Atlanta, and then like for some reason like Brooklyn. I don't know who was the 2 seed or the 3 seed between Brooklyn and Milwaukee. Like
Brooklyn was
tell you.
Brooklyn was the 2. Milwaukee was the 3.
So crazy. It feels like it was like yesterday for real, but also at the same time it doesn't.
Yeah, facts though.
Hey, yeah, a year and a half ago there was NBA Finals games played on my birthday, and that's the craziest thing that will have ever happened to me.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Because when your birthday is in October, NBA Finals games are not played on your birthday.
No Oh, you're getting ready for the new season at that point.
Exactly. So
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of 3 Point Weekly. Be sure to let us know your thoughts on everything round 1 and your series predictions for round 2. If you guys made it this far, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll be sure to have more content coming over the rest of the week. Be sure to check us out on TikTok as well. We're putting out a lot of content there now over the next week. Not Run the NBA, 3 Point Weekly over there as well. But if you want more content from us as well, Run the NBA for me and Rick Knows Hoops, RIK Knows Hoops for Tyrik as well. So be sure to check that out. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.